I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, do you want to talk about coziness or queerness or both?
Both.
Okay, let's talk about cozy queerness. So
I think queerness is super cozy. There,
it is. All right, so
point made.
Take it away then. Tell us about cozy queerness and yeah.
Okay. So I mean, okay, coziness, right?
Yeah.
I think that we could all do with being cozy. I think that that is should not be a controversial thing to say. I think it needs to be. I think rest needs to be normalized. I think being comfy needs to be normalized. I think just indulging in the beautiful sensory world around you is something nobody should feel guilty about ever. And I think it's especially important in the here and now when we are all exhausted and angry and not sure what's going to happen, not sure if it's ever going to get any better, just, having little pieces of yourself carved away at every turn, to be able to pick up, be it a book, a video game, a movie, whatever, that feels like a great big hug. And we are taught that this is something childish, that you're supposed to grow out of that. And that goes back to what we were talking about cynicism and sophistication. With Monk and Robot in particular, I wrote it in response to something I noticed that was starting to happen in my social circles around 2017. You all might have been there at that point. Living in this golden age of books, media, all of it, that you can reach for anything, people started to go back to, and I'm sure a lot of you did this as well, comfort shows from childhood or watching cartoons. And both of those things are great. Those are legit things to do. But nobody actually wanted to engage with new stuff, gritty stuff, because we were all so tired all the time. And I was like, can I write something that fills the Steven Universe rewatch or Great British Bake Off rewatch that is intended for an adult audience, that will give you something nutritious as well, that you can find a book that meets you where you're at right now, at the age you're at, without having to be like, well, is it going to end bad? I should read the wiki first to make sure that I'm emotionally up for this evening. It goes back to comfort. It goes back to a cup of tea. You just sometimes need a story that tells you not necessarily that everything's going to be okay, but that things are okay, that you are okay. And I think that is in and of itself a type of rest.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, there's been, for those of you who are science fiction fans or pay attention, there has been a whole, I would call it a coziness revolution in sci-fi. And it is very much a resistance to dystopian writing. And Becky's work is often hailed as one of the great, aspects of this coziness revolution. Malka Older has a new book out called The Mimicking of Known Successes, which is also a very cozy space opera. It's a kind of Sherlock Holmes mystery set in an artificial environment that's been built around Jupiter. People have set up these rings around Jupiter that have trains running on them and built little habitats around the train tracks. And it's just it's a very, dark things happen, but things are also quite warm and cozy, and the characters like each other and they want to make things better. And the idea of cozy fiction is not to avoid darkness or to, run away from problems. It really is what you're talking about, the idea that, you're not going to have to brace yourself for some horrific, destructive event at the end of the day. And I think, a lot of Star Trek, not classic Star Trek, but Next Generation era Star Trek kind of participates in that same narrative structure where everyone basically wants to do something that's honorable and people are there for each other. And at the end of every episode, people fix things, it's not like Picard, if you're watching Picard, where everything is sort of broken and more broken. I haven't watched this season. I hear it's getting better, but it's much more in the vein of, a show where we're all there for each other.
Cozy sci-fi can be very simply summed up as stories that tell you that the future could be good.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. And if you choose to pick up a story like that, you're choosing to engage with that idea for a while. For a little while, you are believing that the future could be good and that the people in it will be kind. And I think that that is the fuel we need if we're going to get through the here and now.